Welcome to part two, the 5 laws of leverage in practice. I'm joined by my editor, Jordan, to talk about each of them to help you apply them to your life and business. Think of these laws as your tools for turning small actions into huge results.
So let's look at the overview of the 5 laws so we all know where we're going, because we just had the book where you told them in story form, showed how they work. And so we're going to state them just so everybody knows exactly which laws we're talking about, because there's so much that we learned there. And number 1 is knowledge. Knowledge shared grows stronger. Law number 2 is time. Time well used multiplies effort and compounds. Law number 3 is money. Money properly planted yields freedom. Number 4 is people. People lifting others rise higher. And law number 5 is systems. Systems working together to build futures. So why these 5 laws?
So why these 5 laws? I think most of us are after similar things. And one thing that I've been after for at least the last 10 years is freedom. That's been like the most important thing to me. Like, I just want to be free. And I think the life and the businesses that I've built, the way that I've invested, my money, all of those things have been the teams that I've built have been on this quest for freedom. And these 5 laws are the quickest ways to build leverage to have that freedom that we either want in our businesses, in our lives, in our relationships, in our marriages, with our faith walks, all of those things. This is how you get it, with knowledge, time, money, people, and systems. And I think we all want to enjoy life. I think we want fulfillment. I think we want happiness. I think we want time to do the things that we want to do with the people we want to do them, the way that we want to do them, and utilizing and pulling the lever on these 5 laws of leverage is in how I have, little old me, Jordan, little old me have gone from, my goodness, down and out just a decade ago to all of the things that we've been able to produce in just a short amount of time. And so I've seen it from firsthand knowledge, firsthand experience. And that's why I was really excited to do this work, because I know that if other people implement these 5 laws into their lives, their businesses, then they'll see tremendous success as well.
So why a story? Why did you want to do the parable? Because most authors just write the book.
Right.
And they just write the book. And parables are actually way harder to do and to be clear. And this was absolutely a home run.
Yeah.
Why did you think it was so important to set it in the time period it was set in, with the characters that are there, the obstacles they're facing? Why the story?
I wanted it to be different. I didn't want it to be the same. The last time we were together, we produced what we were just talking about. We produced the 12 shifts. And I don't want to be biased, but I've read a ton of books. You're a huge reader too. I think that's one of the areas we've connected through philosophy and religion and history and stoicism. And when we produced the 12 shifts, like that book, I had to put that book out, but I wanted to do that book in a step-by-step form so you wouldn't really miss the lessons and miss the message. I wanted this to be different. I wanted the reader to have to come back to this book multiple times a year and every time get something new. As they're on their growth journey, they come back a year from now and they say, oh my God, how did I miss that? Oh my God, how did I miss that? And some books that did that for me is like, I remember the first time I read The Alchemist, and I was still in pharmaceutical and medical sales, and I had no idea what the book was talking about. I remember I had to go back and just keep trying to digest it. The Richest Man in Babylon, same thing. Just what is happening here every time. And those are 2 books that I still go back to every single year. And when I read it, I hear something new because I'm in a new place. So I wanted it to be something that the reader really had to pay attention to. They had to, um, they had to kind of utilize a little bit more thought, consciousness, something that they wanted to keep going back to sort of uncover the secrets that are within it. And the biggest thing is I want it to be different. I feel like so many people try to do the same cookie cut, cookie cutter things. And even what we're doing right now, this is different. I really haven't experienced something like this before in a book, So I know that I am going to die soon, relatively speaking, maybe in the next 50, 60 years or something. And I want to produce things that are different. And then when people say, that piece of work made an impact on me because it was a little bit different. So I think that's why, and selfishly, I love stories. Like, listen to me right now. That's why it's hard for me to do podcasts, because I tell so many stories, and I usually don't have just short, like magnificent clips of words, but I like story form.
One thing I remember you saying too, picking the era that this book is set in the United States. So it would have been much easier to just make up a tale in some far off place where
Sure.
we didn't have to follow historicity and all
Right.
of the rules and all of the setbacks that were against the characters. But you also picked a time in the country where some of the most inspiring people
Yeah.
rose up and were able to do things that are mind blowing.
Yeah. I think I think sometimes, as you know, I grew up on welfare. I was born on welfare. I graduated college. I was still on welfare. So I was sort of in a position to where, not for any fault of mine, not for any fault of anyone else, but I sort of had a framework about life, to where it had me look at the glasses half empty instead of the glasses half full. So I would look at reasons as to why I couldn't do something as opposed to why I could do something. So if I saw someone being successful, I would immediately look at all of the reasons as to why they got to that success. And usually that was because they came from a better family, or they grew up in a better environment, or they had dad in the house, or they were a certain ethnic group, or so on and so forth. I wouldn't look at them and say, oh, if they could do it, then I could do it too. I would look at reasons as to, oh, they can do it, but these are the reasons why I can't do it. And so, one thing that I wanted to do was try to help the world, the audience, our society, the reader, dispel any sort of myths that they might have about reaching a level that they may not have thought that they could reach because of wherever their starting point was, you know. And so I've always have loved this time period, to where African Americans in the United States, I think about it, what is that like to be stuck in chains for 200 years, right? Like, my mama was a slave, my grandmama was a slave, my great grandmama was a slave. I've never had any agency. I've never had any freedom. I don't know what that is. I've always reached out my hand, stretched out my hand for something, and trying to grasp for something that was never there. And then all of a sudden, boom, out of nowhere, I'm freed. What? What do I do, Jordan? Where do I go? I don't have a house. Where do I go? I don't have a job. I've never worked for myself before. Where do I go? I don't know how to read. I would maybe get killed for learning how to read. What do I do? I don't have any money. How do I make ends meet? I think about this, like, what must that have been like? What do you do when you have millions of people all of a sudden you're free to go? Can you imagine what that must be like? And so at a time where many people in our country were at their worst, still, even under all of that opposition, within a handful of years, within a couple decades, we start seeing black folks rise up. We see people in political offices. We see black banks. We have our first black millionaires. How? How? How is this possible? No, I'm like getting chills right now. How? How is that possible? And I say, man, if that's possible during this era, why is it not possible now? Why is it not possible now? What did those people do? I know it was just a handful few of them. I know it's not everybody. But is it possible that people are leaving clues? And what are these clues? Well, we just wrote about them. How'd these people do it? How'd they do it back then? How are they doing it now? 13 years ago, I was broke. 6 years after that, I was a millionaire. How'd that happen? That's insane. And so that's why I wanted to do it specifically in this time period, because if you can do it, if people can do it, the most oppressed or oppressed, I don't even know what the word is. What's the word, Jordan? Oppress?
Oppress is good.
Oppress. If the most oppressed people can do it during this time, figure out ways, partnerships, opportunity. If they can do it then we can certainly do it now.
I love that. And even the decision to make, Isaac and Ruby sharecroppers. Mm-hmm. And sharecroppers where I didn't know a ton about this until, you were like, hey, I want to do this. And we started deeply researching all of this. And the analogy is so powerful for people today because you, as a sharecropper, you didn't own your land.
Right.
You didn't own your crop. Mm-hmm. You didn't own your time.
No.
You didn't own any of that. And what you were doing is building someone else's dream.
It was just another form of slavery.
Yeah.
It's like you're freed, but not really. Like it was just another oppression system. How can I still have this group of people confined? And how can I just change the game a little bit, give the appearance that it's changed, but it's not really changed? And that's why I wanted to do it to where they were sharecroppers. Oh my gosh, and I'm sure we're going to get into it, but even as they have a new form of slavery, from early morning to late at night, they are building somebody else's life and dreams. But throughout the story, they start to learn where you build wealth and where you get time back is the hours that are outside of that. And I just thought it was so appropriate because that's the same thing that happens now. Where you build wealth, where you start to build freedom is in the crevices where nobody's watching. And I thought that we're all kind of, in many ways, slaves to something. And how do you start to build the freedom? How do you set yourself free? And all of the principles are right here, right in its book, if a person's really paying attention.
Amazing. Let's dive into Law 1.
Law number 1, knowledge. Knowledge shared grows stronger. What does that mean? The listener might be asking. Think about knowledge, Jordan. Like it's so fascinating. You and me love history. For thousands of years, we human beings, the human species, didn't know much. We only knew what we knew. We didn't know how to read, that's for sure. We didn't know how to write. We start to figure out hieroglyphics. But one thing we start to figure out as a society is knowledge has power. And the people that have the knowledge are the people that are going to be the most powerful. So how can I oppress somebody else? Is I keep them away from learning. And if you learn, then there's going to be massive consequences. Why? Why would they do that? Is the question. Well, you do it because it's effective. And you can't produce something, you can't do something on a massive level if you don't know, if you're ignorant. And it's so funny, in my house, if you use that word ignorant, it was like using a 4-letter word. Like you cannot call someone ignorant. I remember one time I messed up and called my mom my mom
Oh
ignorant.
no.
It was the last time, bro. It was the last time. But that's how you do things on a massive scale. First, you start with yourself. How can I learn something? And this is what they did at night, when, you know, when when the when the slaves would gather together and they would have candlelight, and one person would know, "Hmm, I learned how to read a little bit. I learned some words. Is everybody asleep? Yeah, they're asleep. Okay, break out the candle. Let me teach you. Oh, I'm afraid if I learn, maybe something will happen to me. No. It's bigger than that. Let me share it with you. Oh my gosh, somebody else comes from another plantation. Hey, we got a secret. Let me share it with you. Oh, I learned how to do the. Oh my gosh, you learned that. Let me share it with you." And as you start to do that, and as you start to multiply intelligence, and as you start to multiply understanding, and as you start to multiply these different skills, then you can make an impact on a massive scale. And so, knowledge is something you always hear them say, each one teach one. Why? Why would they say that? Well, because it's a secret that some people know and some people share, and some communities don't, not as much. And so, if you want to be free, if you want to start to make an impact, not just on a micro level, you want to start making an impact on a macro level, then one of the first things you have to teach is, one, how to think, as we showed in the 12 shelves or the 12 shifts, but two, what is possible.
Yes.
And if I don't know what's possible, I'm only going to keep repeating the same habits, the same actions that extend to the extent of the knowledge that I have. And then I'm going to be stuck. I'm going to be stuck in a house, in an environment, in a city, in a country, in a school system, in education, in building wealth. I'm going to be stuck. I can only go as far as I understand. And so that's why knowledge shared is one of the strongest levers that you can pull. That's why we're writing the books. I could keep all the stuff to myself,
Right.
right? Like, but if I don't know that there's things that's possible, I'm not even going to strive further. And once we start to pass that on a massive scale, you can make miracles happen.
And it seems like you're drawing a distinction too between just information and knowledge.
Yeah.
What you just said, like you can have information, you can have the reservoir of stats and facts and all that kind of thing, but then knowledge really turns into this river, right? It spreads and it you're actually doing something with it.
Yeah, absolutely. And we can see it. I see it already in my kids. Right? I use my kids as sort of like sociological and anthropological and psychological experiences, right? Like, does this stuff work? Yes, it does. There's a big difference between knowing and understanding, right? Big difference between the knowledge that we're talking about. I could tell them all day long to do certain things, and they might understand it. They understand, you know? But there's a big difference between application and then as you apply it, now sharing that knowledge and that application so that it impacts and it sparks a ripple effect. And I already see them doing this with their friends. Like I hear the conversations is how they're already trying to encourage these little kids, little fourth graders and stuff on what to do with their money and like what to do with their time and how to start building teams and all this stuff. It's already happening. And that's the power of implementing knowledge and having it flow like that river that you talked about.
In another part of the story that I loved is, Moses becomes this mentor for Isaac and Ruby, right? Moses is the man. I love it. I love Moses.
Yeah.
But this knowledge came from a really unexpected place too. And that's one of the things I've noticed about you is you're not afraid to look for knowledge anywhere or learn from anyone or have an arrogance that you don't need to know. There's like a humility in being a student of life. And I think the story grasps that, and I think your life has as well.
Yeah, well, they say when the student is ready, the teacher will appear.
Yeah.
And what I've learned is there are a lot of willing teachers. There's just not enough willing students. And Moses, what you'll learn about Moses, why I love him as well, is most people in my own journey, Jordan, when they see that I'm serious and I'm asking for help, they help me. And it doesn't matter where they come from, what they look like, where they're at in terms of their social economics. They when they see that you're serious, they will help you. And that's the same thing that Moses did. And he didn't just do it in that first moment that they sort of walked into his shop. He did it continuously for years. That has been the same thing. So one of the keys to obtaining knowledge is to seek it out. If we seek, then we'll find. And to seek it out from people that have already done that in which you want to do. And what you'll see is once a teacher finds a willing student, a student that has the desire, that has the grit, that has the hunger, then they will go as far as you'll go. And I think that we see that played out over and over and over within this storyline. And I think that what happens with some mentors as well, I've seen it happen in my own life, is when they are mentoring a student and they see that the student wants to create something that might even be bigger than what they wanted to create, they get even more fired up about assisting you. And I think that that's what we see here, and that's why I enjoy so much.
So to put some boots on the ground for this, what knowledge habits would you suggest to people? Like, what does it actually look like to be pursuing knowledge and using it? And like in your life, for example, what knowledge habits have you put into place?
Hell, I don't know. Knowledge habits. You might have to give me some tips on this one, Jordan.
Well, obviously you read, and you read widely. You listen to podcasts. You meet with people. Like you met with someone while you were here. So you do that a lot. Like, and you're fitting that all the time within. You went to a convention because you also wanted to know about something. Like you just always pair it. So I think you have a lot of knowledge habits.
Man, well, thank you. Well, there you guys go. There you guys go. I think some of the knowledge habits that I've sort of adopted, some have been conscious, but some it's been subconscious as well. But I think first, man, it's just like I've really found that I'm just open and curious. Like I just want to know. I just want to know. I want to understand, and I also think, you know, just lend yourself to become a seeker of truth. And I think that that's one thing that I've always wanted to find is just like, what is the truth in this? For me, it's reading. You know, I think that there's thousands of people that have figured things out that leave them in books, and all we have to do is pick them up and read them. It's podcasts. It's like this. I have a rolling university, which is called my car,
Yeah.
and some of my best mentors I've never met in my life, but I consider them my my foremost mentors. I call them by name.
Yeah.
I think the event that changed my life was a seminar. So seeking out seminars, going to seminars in areas that you want to grow. I think probably the biggest impact for just a knowledge habit is once a month, I try to invite somebody out for lunch or for dinner that is further ahead. Now I'm paying for it, and I take my notepad or I have my phone open, and I'm just asking questions. I just got to know, how'd you do this? Why'd you do this? How did it work for you? Okay, go back. No, tell me about it. Don't skip that part. How'd you go from here to there? I'm just writing. I'm writing. My hand's just going crazy, right? My fingers are pecking at my Apple notepad. I'm just writing. I'm digesting. And what is a freaking $30 lunch to get a lifetime of a wealth of knowledge? But I don't see a lot of people doing that. Since I've been here, we're recording right now in Arizona, in Tempe. The second night I got here was meeting with someone who's huge in this space. And the bill came. He reached for his credit card. I said, there's no way. There's no way. I got this. Why? Because you just spent an hour and a half telling me he's only 27 years old. I'm 43. Listen to that. He's 27. I'm 43. For an hour and a half, he told me how he went from a broke college kid to doing millions of dollars in the online space. I said, wow, I was infatuated. How'd you do that? Why'd you do that? You lost all your money? How'd you get it back? No, don't skip that part. So I love doing that. And the opportunities are endless. And I think you can learn so much from looking at what people did right and what people did wrong. So those are some knowledge habits that I have that have served me well in the past decade or so.
And really, at the heart of it, cultivating curiosity,
Yeah.
staying curious,
Yeah.
and following those threads.
And also not staying stuck to what I believe that I believe. Being open that there's a lot that I don't know, and that things that I believe that I knew might not be the case. And being open is shifting and changing and saying, well, maybe I don't know. And allowing for new knowledge, new evidence to be able to penetrate where you might be in life. And so I think being open to changing, not being rigid, having a growth mentality has really been helpful.
Wow. Law number one, the law of knowledge, so powerful. Let's talk about law number two, time. Time well used multiplies effort and compounds.
Mm-hmm.
So talk about this.
Yeah, man. So this is one of my favorite ones. Is people ask me, especially now all the time, you know, how you build wealth and what's the difference between, being rich and what's the difference between being wealthy. And the biggest difference is time.
Mm.
It is time. How long can you go without necessarily working, trading time for money, trading your labor for currency? How long can you go without having to do that? That's wealth. Wealth is all in time. So how do you get that? Well, I think in the story is kind of like what I was talking about. Is during the day, you know, Isaac and Ruby and the family is out doing what they got to do for Mr. Ampey and to pay back their debts. They got to trade their time for money, for currency. And then at some point, they start to understand that, how can I multiply time? Is it possible to have double the amount of success in the same amount of time? Is it possible to have triple the amount of success in the same amount of time? How about quadruple? We all have 24 hours in a day. When I started my entrepreneurial career, 12 years ago, I would look around and I would say, oh my gosh, this person has this much success and they're making this much money. Why? This person has this much success. They're making a lot more money. Why? This person has this much success and making a lot more money. Why? We all got 24 hours in a day. What are they doing different? Well, they figured out how to multiply time, and I didn't know how to do it yet. And so what we start to see is, well, it's possible to plant more vegetables in a garden when you only have 24 hours in a day to start multiplying time. The problem is most of us just want to plant radishes and then go home and cut the TV on and watch Netflix and binge out on the thing and then scroll social media and then waste a ton of time instead of maximizing it. And people will ask me and they say, they won't even ask me. They'll just say, hey, it's not possible for me. And I say, of course it is. Let me spend 72 hours straight with you and let me just look at what you do with your time. And I'm telling you, if I did that with the majority of people, after those 72 hours, I would say, oh, I understand why you're here.
Mm.
You like to watch a lot of TV. The TV is costing you a lot of money, probably thousands of dollars every year, not to buy it, but to watch it. You like to sleep a lot, right? So your work hours was from 9 to 5, but you like to go to bed and get 8, 9 hours of sleep. Oh, okay, I understand. No, that's not what we do. That's not what we do. During the day, you pay for your life. At night, you build your dreams. And this is what we see throughout the story is during the day, I'm paying for my life. I'm paying my debts. At night is where I build my dreams and I can multiply time. Time well used is one of the biggest secrets to exploding into success, not just sort of crawling into it.
And there's this in the story, but also in the greatest founders and entrepreneurs and anybody that you study, greatest leaders, there's this ruthless prioritization that they're able to do. And in the book, they prioritize exactly where they can even fit and place these vegetables, right?
Right.
And then they prioritize exactly how they're going to use their time to accomplish this. And history's greatest founders and leaders do this as well. So how do you get that rubric for prioritization? And I mean, like the way to see, like, these are the important things, but this is the order of those things that I need to do too. Like, where does that come from for you?
It comes from a couple places. I think the first place we see it is mentorship and how important that is. Like, Moses, what did you do? What would you advise me to do? Okay, I'm sitting down with these meetings. I'm meeting with these people. I'm reading these books. I'm listening to these podcasts. What they do? What's their calendar look like? What are their rows of vegetables look like? Like, what is it? And so I utilize the knowledge from people that's walked the journey before me. The next is application. Jordan, we do not learn. I never taught anybody anything. I've never taught anybody anything. I give a lot of information that needs application. And then as we start to apply the thing, it's where we start learning, oh crap, that row shouldn't go there. That doesn't make sense. The roots are now choking off the roots of something else. We got to move this. Oh my gosh, I cannot do this at this time of day. I got to change this around a little bit. This method isn't working. And so we test and we test and then we fail, but we got to be open to failing.
What?
And we get slapped in the face and we hurt, but we got to change. So the biggest way we learn these systems and these strategies is by doing. Go do the thing and keep doing it, and then change, and then refine, and then refresh, and keep doing it. So we learn from the people that have gone before us. What strategy should I use? What are the steps I should take? And then you start taking the steps and you refine along the way and you don't quit.
Let's talk about time in another way that you talk about it all the time, especially with investing and the idea of compound interest and the idea of time compounding for you.
Yeah.
There's that illustration. If you double a penny every day for 30 days, it's worth like 10 million bucks.
Yeah.
Right. And so then just stretch that principle out over the course of your life. And so besides in investing, how have you looked at the compounding effect of time over your life?
Man, we see it in every area of life. Look at your relationships. One of the reasons why people do business with you, Jordan, is because you're so trustworthy. Where does that come from? Does that happen in a second? Does that happen in a minute? Or does that happen over days, months, years of you showing up, of you doing the things that you say you're going to do? And then what happens when you've proven yourself to, it's a word I'm looking for. When you've proven yourself to have integrity over time, right? Now I get excited and I tell my friends about you. And what am I doing now? I'm compounding this magical thing that's happened over time. We look at our bodies. What happens? I want to lose 50 pounds. Okay. So what does that take? Can I do that in a second? People want to.
Only if you chop off your legs.
Or you chop off your legs, right? Or you get into some water and we have a different way of measuring you. But how do we get healthy? Can I do it in a week? Can I do it in a month? Can I lose 50 pounds in 30 days? Maybe. But it's going to take some time. And what happens is like begets like, loves it, right? Good habits love good habits. Bad habits love bad habits. And it creates something, momentum. So over time, if I'm doing something, and we see it all the time, start running today. It sucks. Get back out there tomorrow. Oh my gosh, my legs hurt. Then what's going to happen in a week? Oh my gosh, it starts to feel good. I can run a little bit further. A month from now, oh, I'm up to a mile. What? A month before that, I couldn't even barely get up a flight of stairs. And now what happens? It starts to compound. We see it in every area of life, whether it's good or whether it's bad. It's magical. I can't explain it. I don't know how it works. I just know that it works. And it works whether you're trying to go in a good direction or if you're going in a bad direction. Okay, if you keep compounding bad habits, eventually we're going to get to what reality is. If you keep compounding good habits, eventually we're going to get to what that reality is. And so there's this momentum that picks up one way or the other. We got to figure out what direction we want to go in. Which side do we want to be on? The momentum of the good side, the momentum of the bad side. We also see it, man, in sports. I see it all the time. Whether I'm watching a basketball game or I'm watching an NFL game, a hockey game, whatever, it doesn't matter. A team will absolutely spend the first quarter, second quarter, first half, second half, whatever, destroying another team. They picked up momentum. Lady momentum is on their side.
Yeah.
Time, what did we say? Time is on their side. Then what happens? Halftime. Boom. We break the momentum. We just stop time. They come back on the field. They come back on the court. What happens? Momentum switches and changes to the other team. The other team wins the game. Why? They were just down by 30 points. Because momentum and time doesn't play favorites. Right? It plays favorites to the person that's treating it right. And that's just how it is. And as long as you keep treating it right and you don't stop it, it will keep working for you. And not only will it keep working for you, then it won't just start doubling or tripling. You'll start to see it like pick up to where it starts to grow tenfold. And I can't explain it. I'm not a physicist. I don't know. I just know that it works. And that's how you make massive changes, is by utilizing, playing on the right side of the game.
Well, and you can't cheat a law, and you call these the laws of leverage because they're laws.
Because they're laws. You're not going to stop the law of gravity. Everybody knows that if you have a rock and you go to a 12-story building and you drop it, it's going to fall down to the ground, right? These are just things that we don't know how they work necessarily. We just know that they work. It's a law. The only way you're going to be able to change it is you have to defy a law. But these things are going to be constant over and over and over again. And this is why knowledge is so important. Because if you don't know that that's how it works, you don't even know how to play the game.
If you don't know the rules, you never win.
Well, just think if I didn't know the law of gravity and I walked my happy self up on top of this building and I jumped down, what happens? I'm hurt. I'm dead. Same thing in life. If I don't know compounding interest, if I don't know from a young age to start putting my money away, to start investing, the way that you build wealth is not by working or saving, it's by investing. If I don't know that, I've never been taught that on a deep level, then what happens? I'm 43 years old and I'm hurt, or I might be dead. No different than me walking on top of this building and jumping off. Why? Because I don't know the law of gravity.
That's perfect. And I want to move to law number 3, which is leverage in money, because money properly planted yields freedom. And this, the law of compound interest and money are, I mean, they're music to your ears.
Yeah.
When you're playing the game, right, when you're living according to the law. And I see you even working on this with your kids already. and helping teach them this, but also helping them invest and helping them think about what's going to happen in the future. How do we start? Like maybe if someone's never been investing, they've never really understood this idea of compounding interest, and maybe they say, like, I kind of like Isaac and Ruby, like I literally can buy some seeds.
Sure.
I literally can buy seeds,
Yeah.
and that's all I can do right now. Like how does that person start with their money mindset?
You don't have to get it or understand it. It's not something you have to figure out. If I go to, in the story, they go to Moses, and Moses says, I want you to go plant. I don't want you to try to figure this stuff out. I just want you to go plant. This stuff is going to grow in the next 30 days. In 30 days? It's impossible. You don't have to figure it out. Just go plant. Moses already knows. He's a wise man. I don't have to be the wise man. I graduated high school with a 2.2 GPA. I'm good at following directions. So we don't have to know. Just go plant. Let the universe, God, physics, whatever it is, do what it does. Our responsibility is to go plant. That's all we're asked to do. I don't have to figure this out. And we see it in the parable of the sower. Just go plant, man. Just plant, and you just water. I'll provide the sun. I'll provide the soil. I'll provide the miracles. You just go plant. Same thing with, this law of money properly planted is going to bear fruit. It's going to bear crops. And the great thing about it is if you just plant, sometimes it's not going to work out. Sometimes you're going to lose some stuff, but sometimes you're going to see this law of compounding, not just double, not just triple, quadruple, multiply tenfold if I have enough time. So I just want to dispel the myth, because I used to always think I needed to be smart, or I had to know, or it had to make sense to me. You don't. When I started, it didn't make sense. Somebody said, just do it. And I did it. And I got scared, and I was afraid. We're afraid of losing. But I did it. And then I did it. And then I did it. And then I started to see, oh my gosh, this money, listen to me closely, is working harder for me than I work for it. I would go to bed. I would wake up. Oh my God. New vegetables. I didn't do anything though. All I did was plant it. I would go to bed. Oh my gosh. I just invested the money. Look at this return. But I didn't do anything. I was asleep. I can't believe it. Wow. What is this craziness? Like I thought I was supposed to work so hard for it.
It's a little bit like magic.
It's like I said, man, I don't know how it happens. Einstein says it's the eighth wonder of the world. If Einstein can't figure it out, little old Jamil is not going to be able to figure it out. But if they say, if you do this and you invest, then you're going to eventually start to get returns that are bigger than the time that you're spending to make the money. Wow. And what do we see? What do we see with Liberty Garden? Isn't that exactly what happens? I'm investing all these principles. I'm investing my money. I'm investing seed into the soil. I'm investing into the people. I'm investing within time. And what happens? All of a sudden, it gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. Oh my goodness. That's a huge institute. Wow, look at this. It's crazy. And so, money properly planted yields freedom, because eventually it will start to work harder for you than you work for it. And I think on some level that's what we want. Like we want to work. We want to find things that bring us purpose, but we want to do the things when we want to do the things.
Right.
Not because we have to do the things. We want to leave legacies, right? If you ask every parent, hey, do you want to leave a legacy for your kids? Yeah, of course. Like, it doesn't make sense. Of course. Yeah, well, the way that you do that is you do that by investing.
And I love one of the things you've written about before in The Richest Man in Direct Sales. You have a really simple system for people to start, no matter where you're at.
So
70,
simple.
10, 10, 10.
Yeah.
Tell us about that.
Yeah, easiest system. When I learned this, it convinced me that anybody who has a way of earning income can become exceedingly wealthy. And when I say anyone, please listen to me. Anyone. I don't care what you look like. I don't care what your ethnicity is. I don't care what gender you are. It does not matter. Anybody that has a way of earning income can build wealth that exceeds whatever they thought was possible for them. And it doesn't matter if they work at McDonald's, nothing against McDonald's, by the way, but it doesn't matter if they're a salesperson, it doesn't matter if they're a nanny, it doesn't matter if they're a doctor or if they're an attorney or an accountant. It does not matter. All you have to do is, when you get paid, you immediately take 10% of whatever that paycheck, take 10% of it, you put it away in an investment account. The next 10% of that paycheck, you just save it. And the next 10%, we tithe it, we gift it away, we invest into some sort of charitable cause, which leaves us with 70%. And that's what we live off of. Now, here's the crazy thing. Over the next 30 to 40 years, that person more than likely, doesn't matter where they start, that person more than likely will have at least $1 million in net worth. It does not matter if they could be painting sidewalks. They could be selling lemonade on a corner. Right? It doesn't matter. That's the secret. It's so simple. It's so simple, but it's so difficult.
And that right there is such a good point, especially for someone like me and maybe for some of the listeners. I think we can be really good at complicating things.
Yeah.
And again, thinking I have to understand the whole, I have to read 8 books on money before I can actually start taking action.
Right.
And here it's just like these, really, even if you went and read 8 books on money, 70, 10, 10, 10 would probably be the punchline.
Yeah.
That you would learn anyway.
Sure. Yeah. And it's the same whether I'm running a business or it's the same in my personal finances. It's going to be the same, man. It's so beautiful. But I say it's so difficult because human beings, we have a lot of emotions. We have a lot of wants. We have a lot of doubts. We have a brain that makes us very special, different from any other creature on earth, right? We have agency. We can decide. We have choice. But because we have this ability, this crazy ability to think and have consciousness, we often think ourselves out of blessings, and we make things a lot harder than they have to be. And it requires discipline, and it's difficult to be disciplined, and it requires sacrifice, and we don't want to sacrifice, and it requires massive delayed gratification. These are all the things that we have seen in this story. It requires it all, and this is why it requires desire. We have to want to do this, because it's going to ask you to do a lot of things that are unnatural to us. For example, Jordan, when I was, I got out of college, and my first job, like real job, they didn't even pay me a base salary. It was commission. Draw commission is what they called it. I made $27,000 that year. And then I did well, so they gave me a $30,000 base salary. Okay? Now, when I had a $30,000 base salary, my living, the way I lived, was $30,000 worth of living. The apartment I had, the car I had, everything fit within that. A couple years later, I got hired by Johnson & Johnson Pharmaceutical. They gave me a $56,000 base salary and a $30,000 commission bonus structure. So now I just went from 80,000 or 30,000 to 80. What do you think happened to my lifestyle? You think I kept it the same? Or did I go out and did I increase my lifestyle to fit my new $80,000 paycheck? Oh, you already know what I did.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing everybody would do, whether they're making $12 an hour and all of a sudden they get bumped up to $15 an hour. Or if they're making $30,000 and next year they start making $45,000. Or they're making $1 million and then they get bumped up to $4 million. Every single one of those people immediately are going to feel like they have to increase their standard of living. Why? Because they're human beings. I just told you. And we all operate based off of emotions and behaviors that you can predict. This is why building wealth, building towards freedom requires so much. It's easy to do on paper. It's super easy. The playbook is easy. We just listed it out. The problem is it's not easy to do. And that's why most people won't do it.
Right. It's simple, but it's not easy.
Right. I want to invite you to pick up my new book, The Freedman the Oak Tree. Now, I wrote this for people who are in sales and business and coaching and consulting, or you just want to accelerate success in your life, whether that be in finance or even in investing. Now, it's more than that as well, because I wrote it as a historical piece. And so what you're going to get is this beautiful story of sharecroppers really taking something that's minimum and figuring out the 5 laws of leverage to turn it into something where they can leave generational wealth. If you're into beautiful stories, and if you're at a place to where you want to level up your career, your business, or your finances, you want to get this book. Now, the secret is also we are turning this book into a film, so you're going to be able to see it on the big screen as well. Go on and grab this book and share it with at least 10 other people.
And so you right now are helping, you impact thousands of people with financial coaching and with these financial models, and you share like all the real numbers, and you're just super authentic and super transparent to help people in your work with your company, Think Life is Different. So you see people from from all walks of life who are coming in. You and I both, we've talked about this before, we both know people who are making $30,000, $40,000 a month in income, just all of a sudden, and then they're like, Jamil, I've got money problems. Like I've got money problems, and all this kind of stuff. So is that the number one issue you see with people, or is there something else you see when people come to you for coaching and they want They want help with their money. Like,
Sure.
what are those common pitfalls that if we just stopped doing these things,
Yeah.
we'd be so much further ahead?
The biggest issue is actually has nothing to do with money. The biggest issue has everything to do with managing emotions. The biggest problem is emotional mismanagement. And so we try to feel, because we're not very good. Man, we are amazing creatures. Humans are. This is what I learned after working with so many people. Is we're so amazing. I mean, we're so amazing. But we're very emotional. And we have to feed those emotions. Listen to my words. We have to. I seek it out. And it doesn't matter what I feed it with. I can feed it with working out all day. And I can make that my drug of choice. I could feed it with eating too much. I could feed it with spending too much. I could feed it with binging Netflix series. But I'm trying to feed these different emotions. So that's the biggest thing that I see is just emotional mismanagement. That's the biggest pitfall right now. There's two types of money problems. Most of us know the first one, which is not having enough. The second type is having too much. No matter if someone is earning $50,000 a year or they're earning $500,000 a year, they tend to have the same behaviors and the same habits. Both of them are living for today and not living for 10 years from now. Both of them have planned for today, but not planning for 20 years from now. Both of them are allowing their money to push them around instead of telling their money what to do, which means they're not budgeting. Both of them have more desires than money that they have. And so they have a tremendous amount of debt. It doesn't matter if they have $50,000 a year or $500,000. Listen to me. They could have $5 million. It will still be the same. They're still going to find a way to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 credit cards. Why? Personal loans. For what? Because my desires, my emotions, are bigger than the value that I'm giving to the marketplace. And I'm going to, I thirst to quench. I have to quench that thirst by all means necessary, even if I bury myself. And this goes back to what I told you, lack of behavioral management. And so they have those issues. The other issues is they say that whatever I have left over is what I'm going to invest. And the problem is they have nothing left over. So they don't invest anything. And so they spend their life working and drowning instead of building comfort and freedom. These are unfortunately the money habits of human beings, most of us. But that can all be changed in an instant. And you say, okay, I'm not going to do this anymore. I'm going to make the decision from right now, today. Here's my decision. I'm listening to Jamil today. I'm going to change some things. It's not all going to happen in one day. That's why we talked about time. But it is going to happen in the next 5 years, 10 years, and I'm okay with that. But we start today. What do we start today? First thing, make the decision. Okay, let's go. Second thing is, let me try to find some mentorship, some coaching. Who do I know that's good at this? Let me shoot them an email. Let me ask them if they want to go out for coffee. I'll pay for it. I'm already in debt. What does it matter if I go another $10 in debt? You know what I mean?
Right.
Let me ask him for a cup. Do you know how many people? I'm not even gonna say that, but it's amazing how many people want to ask other people for support or help, but they're too afraid to ask. Can you imagine? Moses was so happy to help Isaac and Ruby. Do you know how many other Isaacs and Rubies are out there
Yeah.
that would not ask him? Why? They're too scared. So I find a mentor and I ask them, okay, great. Next time I get a paycheck, okay, I'm doing some different things with it. I go to my house, I look at all the stuff I absolutely do not need. I need some help with this because I mistakenly think I need a lot more than I do.
Yeah.
That's my overconsumption. This is what human beings do. We consume everything. All resources we like to overconsume to the point we look for other planets.
Yeah.
Don't we? We start looking for other planets. I've exhausted all the resources here. How can I exhaust resources on Mars or something? But this is just what we do. You have to fight against a natural urge. Right? So you just start making small changes, and now you're on the other side of momentum. Just like that.
That's so good. And this brings me to the next law. We want to talk about law number 4, which is people leverage, and lifting others. How lifting others helps you rise higher too. And that's, the point of this whole project.
Mm-hmm.
Is also lifting others. But I know you've led teams for many years. You've built many teams. You've invested in people who've invested in people who've invested in people. And so you obviously believe in service, but you also believe in developing people.
For sure.
And so I want to hear, what's the law of leverage with people? How do you think about this?
In 2 ways. The first way is the purpose way, right? What am I here for? I mean, I think on some level we're all asking ourselves that. Why me? What am I here for? What am I supposed to do? And so everything that we get in this life is going to be through people and relationships. And for me, it's just been shown that a big part of my purpose is to show other people how to find theirs or develop theirs. So that's the first part. Why do we do it? The second part is because you want to make impact. And the way you make massive impact is not by just working by yourself. I mean, let me say this again. Holy moly. The way to make massive impact is not by trying to do it by yourself. And we saw this again in my favorite shift of 12 shifts, which is Find Your 12. And we really took the model that Jesus gave us.
Yeah.
And I want to make a massive impact on this earth. I could just go out there and preach by myself. But Jordan, I only got 24 hours in a day, man. How many people am I going to be able to touch? Little old me? Yeah, I'm fulfilling my purpose. I'm helping other people, but I'm not making a massive impact. How do I make a massive impact? Well, I got to do it through other people. I need to partner with other people. I need to develop other people. I need to find other people. I need to hire other people. I need to teach other people. And then I need for them to go duplicate it. And when we do this, and now we have this duplication model, right? Now we can make a massive impact. And it doesn't matter if I want to plant a church. It doesn't matter if I'm growing a sales organization. It doesn't matter if I'm growing Think Life is Different. It doesn't matter if I'm planting and I want to provide the world with the freshest radishes they've ever had in their life. I will not be able to do it at scale by myself. It's just not going to happen. One of the problems, though, is we're taught to try to do things on our own. I do not teach my kids that. I don't even teach them to take tests on their own. I don't like that the teachers ask them to take spelling tests on their own. I think everything should be done in teams. Why? Because that's the real world. I have a financial problem. I don't try to solve it myself. I have teams of people that come in and get on a call with me and we solve it together. Why would I try to learn how to spell a word by myself? To where I could have a team of people so this is how we do it. This is why lifting others is so important. Investing in others is so important. And using the model of discipleship is so important, right? If I want to do something on a big level, then who am I to have so much arrogance to think it's just about me? No. I have to put the right people around me. I have to build the right people up. I have to hire the right people. And it goes back to the each one, teach one. Ultimately, if you do this the right way, the biggest impact that you'll have isn't the impact while you're alive, but it's the impact while that thing is dead.
Wow.
Right? You look at them. Ruby died.
Yep.
What happened? Got bigger. Right? Steve Jobs, not at Apple. What happened? Got bigger. Jesus, they say, was crucified on a cross. It wasn't even a religion at this time. What happened? Got bigger. That's the power of investing in people.
What about people who don't see themselves as leaders right now and think, oh, that's for someone else. That's for a leader kind of person. Mm-hmm. I'm not a leader. Who am I going to invest in?
Sure. I understand that feeling. I have massive insecurities. You know this. I had books in my laptop for years. Who am I to put a book out? I'm a guy who grew up on welfare. My dad was an addict. My mom was an addict. I got so many siblings by so many different parents. I graduated with a 2.2 GPA. I'm terrified of doing audiobooks because I don't know how to speak very well. I don't know how to read. It takes me forever. I don't even thank God for spell check. I think on some level, all of us probably have some insecurities like that. But I think when we step back, we all see that in some capacity, we're all leaders. We're all leading something or someone. And I think the misconception about leadership is that it has to look a certain way, right? Like my leadership's got to look like Jordan's, or Jordan's got to look like mine, or the listeners, like the way that they, lead people's got to look like Jamil. It doesn't. But I think what naturally happens is just take the first step, right? Just impact the first person, which you've likely already done. But once you have the vision, then everything else follows. You just got to take the first step. It's okay to have insecurities. It's okay to have self-doubt. I have self-doubt right now. I have no idea what's going to happen. Jordan, I have millions of dollars invested. Every day I think I'm going broke. It's facts. I'm scared all the time. I'm sure it's trauma for not having, a lot, but it's okay to feel like I'm not a leader, I'm not smart, I'm not gifted, I'm not like them. It's okay to feel that way. It's just not okay to let it make you stay stuck.
Mm.
I feel those things every single day.
Let me phrase this question like this. One of the things that I love about you and that I love watching you, I've watched you with a lot of people too, been to your house when you've had events, you're always opening up your world to people. And seeing you with people, you're really good at seeing more in them than they see in themselves. And that's a gift and a skill. But how do you see the potential in other people? And maybe it's just stopping to get out of yourself long enough and stop being so focused on yourself. But how do you see that in people? Because I think that's one of the reasons why you've built such successful teams, and there's so many thousands of people that have been involved in your organizations. So how do you see that in people and help them kind of ignite that spark?
Yeah. The way that I do it is listening to their story. So the first thing when I meet somebody, hey, tell me your story. Where did you get started from? I just did this. I talked about the dinner that I had the other night with this really, powerful influencer out here in Arizona. And we sat down, and the first thing I said was, man, tell me your story. And as a person starts to tell you their story, it's so clear how powerful they are the gifts that they have. Right? It's like, it's so clear. As long as you're open and you're actually paying attention, but you can see it within the first couple words. Wow, that was your starting point. I just had a coffee yesterday with another entrepreneur out here. I told him, tell me your story. And he told me that his dad committed suicide when he was 13 years old. And immediately my first question was, how are you so well intact? This is what I'm asking myself. How are you so quote unquote normal? You never been to jail? You didn't run away from home? You didn't have kids when you were a teenager? You didn't drop out of school? Because that's what most people would have done, right?
Right.
So I'm looking at this, and immediately, I get massive respect for him. I say, oh my God, there's something special about him. So if he tells me some BS that he's not capable, and I say, bro, you're not capable. Your dad blew his head off when you were 13, and look how well adjusted you are. You're telling me you can't get through this? It's crazy. So I love listening to people's stories. I'm fascinated by it. And you see all of the craziness that they've been through, but have overcome. And now when they try to tell me some BS, like I can't save some money, or I can't invest, or I came from a family, my daddy left, I grew up on welfare, the system's been trying to keep me down, I come from a history of slavery, I call BS. And I say, you're not giving yourself enough credit. You just told me your story. If you can overcome that, you can build millions. And I tell them.
One of the things working, then building people, building teams that they need, leads us to law number 5, which is systems. How do you, because then the question is, how do you organize
Yeah.
these people? How do you help them work together? Just like they do in the book with Liberty Garden, they start working together and in coordination, and communication flows and all these great things. Like
Sure.
like it's incredible. But systems working together build futures. So how does systems come into play, especially when more people are at play, more money's at play, things are getting bigger, but they get a little bit chaotic sometimes.
They do. The hardest thing about success is people. The most beautiful thing about success is people. Right? It's in order to get the money, you're going to have to impact people. In order to do something at scale, you're going to have to impact people. So the hardest thing, though, is getting people to work together. The most beautiful thing is getting people to work together. Systems is the quiet leverage law that on some levels is the most important, because you want the success to start operating without you having to be there. Right? I want my money to grow without depending on me to be there. I want my businesses to grow without depending on me to be there. I want my crops to grow without depending on me being there. Why? Because I want freedom. I want freedom, and I want to make a huge impact, and I want to leave legacy. And I've already sort of said that if you can do this right, then this thing should go on without you, and it should get bigger without you. And the way that you do that is you need systems. Now, once we have systems, and once you have it down, which you're going to make a lot of mistakes trying to get the proper systems as we see in a story, but once you have it, it's not that hard. You just expand the system. But you got to get the systems first. And so it takes a lot of tinkering. It takes a lot of figuring out. It takes a lot of asking questions. It takes a lot of failure. But once you have it, you got it. And then you just have to, you have to go in and you have to adjust. But once you have it, you can scale as big as you want. You know, say what you want to say about, the Catholic Church. But one thing they realized after a couple centuries was we got to systematize this thing. This is getting crazy. How can we do this so that it can build at scale? And it's the same thing all of our biggest companies have right now. You look at the top 10 companies in the S&P 500 right now, whether that's Tesla or Microsoft and NVIDIA or so on and so forth, Amazon, Berkshire Hathaway's. One thing they've gotten really good is systematizing their business, so that if that CEO, something happens to him or her, right? Unfortunately, knock on wood, they get hit by a car.
Yep.
Then that business and that operation's going to continue to go.
Yep.
The very next day, nothing's going to change at all. Nothing's going to change. In fact, it might get better, because a lot of leaders still have a lot of ego, which bottlenecks the success of the company. Because in some regard, they still don't want to give up enough of the responsibility by building, so they'll bottleneck systems. So this is one of my favorite parts of, these laws of leverage that we talk about, but it's also one of the hardest parts.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's what, and this is why a lot of people stay small, by the way. right? This is why, because it takes time. It takes time to figure this out, and it takes time to. The biggest money makers is if you can figure out how to build systems and get people to work together well, one of the biggest payers, whether you're there or you're not. But it takes time, and that goes back to, it's certainly possible, but remember, the human being wants everything right now.
Yeah.
I got to get paid right now. I want my business to start making an impact right now. I want to see a return on my investment right now. I want to lose 50 pounds right now. And so this takes time, and it's a little bit more tedious, and this is why it's not as appealing for folks. But this is how you make a huge impact. It just takes a little bit more time.
Now, let's say I'm a business owner, or I've got a side hustle that I'm trying to grow, which is a huge portion of the population. I mean, everybody's got a side hustle at this point in the economy.
Yeah.
How do I identify the crucial systems that I need to have in place, or the crucial processes that, make up those systems? If I'm starting, everybody's got a system. It just depends on how it works. If it works well or not.
Good system or bad
Yeah,
system.
exactly. But where does someone start to get their arms around this and be like, okay, where do I need to begin?
How do I answer this? It's just, are we specifically speaking about a business owner?
I think we should start with business, and I think you could probably hit a few angles. You could talk about, businesses need a sales system.
Sure.
You need to be able to, businesses need those kind of things. And if you don't like this, we can go in a different direction too.
Yeah.
Maybe let's talk about the systems that you've built and are building right now. Should I rephrase it like that? So with systems, you have built many systems with lots of people. You're also building systems right now. Like, you're in process of figuring out how you're building Think Life is Different and your media company and all of this kind of stuff. So like, how do you do systems?
That's a good question. So I have different components of life. I have my personal life, and I have my business life. So let me talk about how I build systems in my personal life first.
Yeah.
And I think this will be helpful for the audience. So like I said, I believe in having teams. I think you're way more successful if you have teams. So in my personal life, the way I build systems is I just think about all the things I do throughout the day, and then I pick out all the things I don't like doing, and then I build systems around that. How can these things get done probably better without me doing them? Right? And whether it's, doing laundry or the dishes or checking my mail. I haven't checked my mail, I think since 2008.
Wow.
So I don't know how many years that is, but that's
17 years.
17 years. Yeah. So how can I build systems around doing these things that I don't love doing? Answering emails. How can I build a system around that so that can get done? It needs to get done. It just doesn't need to get done by me.
Right, because you're talking about things that you can't just delete. Like, you can't just not check your mail. You can't just not respond to emails. You can't just opt out of everything you don't like to do. So there are some core functions,
Yeah.
but then you're finding those and you're building a system around it, and using your strengths as the basis for what systems need built right now.
Sure. So, I mean, we have 4 kids. We need a nanny system. I need an email system. I need a laundry system. I need a Grove manager system. Like so it's just really looking at the different components of your life, of your personal life, like looking at a car. How can I get this car to function effectively? And you pull it apart and then you put it back together piece by piece. Okay. So if this nanny cannot show up, where do we go automatically so the next one comes? This email comes in. What is the system by which this is going to get answered and be returned? So that's for the personal life. For the business life, it's in some regards a little bit easier because most businesses operate the same way. It doesn't matter what the business is. And so, you have to have systems for how do you get people to pay attention to what it is that you have or what you're offering or what it is that you do, right? So how do I get the eyeballs on me? How am I going to drive traffic to this business? And so I have to figure out systems in order to do that. Am I going to run ads? Am I going to put up a whole bunch of billboards? Am I going to hire salespeople? Am I going to try to get organic traffic from social media? Like, what am I going to do? Am I going to pick up the phone and call people? That's what I'm really good at. So my first big company the system was me picking up the phone and calling a whole bunch of people. And then I got tired of it. And I thought, how can I find a whole bunch of other people that like to pick up the phone and call a whole bunch of people? And you build systems in with that. And then the next set is, okay, now that I have people that are, paying attention to us, usually people aren't going to buy or purchase until they feel like they know you, they like you, or they trust you.
Yeah.
Right? Even with you, Jordan, before we started working together, I knew about you, but I didn't know you.
Right.
But I was watching, right? And then I met you at an event. We connected. I liked you. We talked a little bit more. We had a lot of the same values. Now I feel like I know you. Okay, let's work together.
Yeah.
Right? So how do I get them to know me, like me, and to trust me is I got to figure out a system to now create that for them. How can I
delivering
nurture
this
them?
value?
Just keep delivering value.
Yeah.
How can I get you to know me, to like me, and to trust me? How can I do that? And there's so many different ways that you can do that, but you got to create those systems. And then once that happens, at some point in time, you're going to be interested enough to either come into the shop or hit me up or send me a DM or call the company or whatever. Now I got to have a system of how am I going to sell you? How am I now going to, how are we going to start dating? Like
Right.
we've been courting,
Right.
but how do we move it to you're going to buy, right? You're going to exchange your hard-earned dollars for the value that you feel like we can provide for you. But I need a system in order to do that. How am I going to get you to convert into my ecosystem as a client or a customer? Every business is doing this, right? How am I going to do this? And then from there, I want to retain you. I want to retain you as a client or a customer. So I got to build systems to make you feel like my promise is being kept. I promise you something with my service or my product. Is it actually meeting that? And so I want to build systems around that. And then I want to send you. The easiest dollar to make is from a dollar from a customer or a client that already is doing business with you.
Yeah.
So how can I now impress you enough to buy something else or to send people here? Say, I got this new iPhone. I'm impressed. You guys got to go out and get it. Start posting for me, right? Start talking about me for me. I want you to be my little Jamil salespeople that are out there. And so every business is going to operate that way. And then you want to build systems for succession. So either I'm going to, at some point in time, I'm going to step away from this enterprise, whether I do it voluntarily or involuntarily.
Right.
Right? But at some point in time, I'm going to step away, or I might sell it. So in either case, I got to build systems to get ready to succeed this to somebody else. I'm either going to leave it to somebody or I'm going to sell it to somebody. So what are the systems that are helping me do that? And so you just, you toy with all this stuff, right? Like, okay, I got the systems to where I'm now planting the seeds. I think I like it. It's working. I got the systems to where we actually work on this stuff. Okay, everybody's asleep. Here's the system. They're all, now we can go work on it. I got the systems to where now I'm teaching other people how to do it. Okay, now I got the systems to how am I actually going to, when I'm at the marketplace, people aren't coming to me. What are the systems by which we can actually go to them now and make it and influence them? Remember when Ruby started doing that? Okay,
Absolutely.
and she sucked. And then she got better. And then they started building in systems. Okay, well, hey, man, we can't just try to go after these little people. How do we go after these big accounts? And then they started building into those systems. So that's why I said it takes time. But a lot of people don't want to spend the time to create those big systems, so we stay small.
Man, and in bringing this fifth law of leverage home, the book just beautifully weaves these through, I think, the whole story.
Yeah,
and that's sure. Breaking them out like this is super helpful. But when we talk about integrating all of the 5 laws, I mean, the story does it over and over, and you see all of these laws kind of playing together. And so for people who, have stuck to the end, number one, congratulations for investing in yourself with this kind of a book.
Yep.
But number two, what are the most common pitfalls that you've seen with people you've worked with where they read a book, it inspires them, there's so much good stuff, but where do things go off the rails?
Not taking action. And it's not just the most common pitfall for reading the book, it's the most common pitfall from doing anything. There's no shortage of knowledge or advice. It's never, especially these days, there's a shortage of taking action. And I did a talk on stage in front of a few hundred people not that long ago, and when I got up there, I said, you guys, I was just listening to all these other speakers before me, and I was watching the crowd, and I said, I know exactly what's going to happen. These people are going to get the Holy Ghost, get the Holy Spirit. They're going to get fired up. They're going to get high off of this feeling, this information. And then it's going to wear off. And then they're not going to do anything. And then they'll come back for their next fix. And so when I got up on stage, I said, you guys, I'm terrified right now. I'm so afraid. I'm up here shaking. I'm a black man, but I'm turning a little bit red. And I said, do you want to know why? And they're like, yeah, I do. And I said, I'm afraid that what's going to happen after this conference is what usually happens. The majority of you guys are going to walk out of those doors and you're not going to do anything. Maybe 5% of you guys will apply. Maybe. That might even be high. And I'm afraid. That's how I started my talk. And so that's the biggest complication is application. We all want a jacuzzi experience, as my friend Dr. J.C. Dornick says. We all want to sit in the jacuzzi. Right now it's nice, it's warm, it's comfortable. We don't want to get out. That cold air is going to hit us. Where's my towel? How do I wrap myself up fast enough? What is all of this coldness? Feels good in here. My friends feel safe. Arms are wrapped around me. But at some point in time, I have to get out and I have to do. It doesn't feel so warm anymore. It feels cold. It feels lonely. It feels desperate. By myself. I don't see anything happening. What the hell? Jamil said. Right? Like, I don't see it. Where is it? And we don't apply because we're afraid of that. Or we start applying and we walk away from it because it's not warm anymore. No longer a jacuzzi. You just dove into the Pacific Ocean in February.
And that sucks.
That's what it is. It's reality.
Yeah.
It is what it is. You know, like it's a sucky feeling. Nobody wants to get in cold water and stay in cold water like that. So but because we're encouragers, what I just did was I just challenged the listener right now, whether they knew it or not. I told them what was going to happen, what's likely to happen, and I just gave them a challenge. What are you going to do?
And the whole heartbeat of this book, back to where we started, is if these people in this story, and this story, by the way, is not just purely made up, it's patterned after real people who defied these kinds of odds in that exact setting. Who we talked about, a man who wasn't allowed in a hotel and later bought that hotel. Yep. Walked in as the owner. Yeah. I mean, there are so many stories of people.
There's handfuls of stories like that during this time period. Amazing.
And going back to the heartbeat of this thing is, if they can do this, surely with where we're at today and the opportunities available to us, surely we can do it if we'll decide to jump out the boat.
Yes. Yep. And submerge ourselves in the water. And it's you know, this journey has been quite interesting for me because, you know, I think in a lot of ways you know, I think I've surprised myself. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like in a lot of ways. You know? Let me shed some light on that. You know, 10 years ago, what are we in? We're in 2015, 25. We're doing this. Yeah, okay. So exactly 10 years ago, I was renting this small little condo. Actually, it's smaller than what we're in right now. And owned nothing. This was just 10 years ago.
Wow.
5 years after that, I bought a $2 million house.
Wow.
How? What? Like, that's crazy. But how you do it is you use these 5 laws that we just talked about, right? And surely, when we look at the people in this story, it is true, Jordan. If they can do it, then we can do it as well. It's not magic. These are laws. A rock falling from the top of this building onto the ground isn't magic. We used to think it was magic.
Yep.
3,000 years ago, we say, oh my gosh, why does that happen every time? What? I don't get it. Maybe it's magic. The person is dropping it. There's something extraordinary about them. And then we got smarter. And then Isaac Newton came along and he said, no, that's something called gravity. It's a law.
Yeah.
It's going to happen every time. There's nothing special about the person that's dropping the rock. It's just what happens. So if they can do it, we can do it.
Freedman and the Oak Tree, I think, is a real triumph. I think it's got legs that are going to stand for a long, long time because you reached back into something, this story that plays itself over and over again, and really call us to rise up where we don't have any excuses. I think it's one of those excuse eliminator books and projects. And I'm super inspired, having been able to, take part in the editing and work on it with you. It's been a couple years. This puppy has simmered.
Yeah.
And it's been a really, really tough to put this all together. But I think the way that you brought it together and the way that it's presented is going to be really applicable if we will just start. I love how you said you don't even have to understand everything. You just need to start.
Got to do it. You just got to do it. I am so excited about this project, Jordan. When we sat down and we talked about it, I talked about the era, and we researched all these people, and it was amazing. Now, I know that this is also going to be a stage play, and I know that this book is going to turn into a movie. And I think that, I think it's going to have an opportunity to impact millions of people.
I believe it, and it started right here with the people listening.
Boom. Let's go. So good.